Hello and welcome to Charlotte Motor Speedway for another race in the Great Lakes Truck Series, race number 6 of the season. I'm Kyle Lawrence Short, joined in the booth by Alex Kolinix. Alex, how we doing today?
We're doing all right, Kyle. We're coming off the back of the Motegi Raceway in Japan, which ended in absolute calamity for all the drivers last week. But now we're heading to a normal speedway race at the 1.5 miles of Charlotte. So now we expect a lot more regular racing compared to what we saw last week.
Yeah, last week at, of course, Twin Ring Motegi, Christopher Heller was able to get the job done and get a victory in a very intense, crazy race last week. And it's, like you said, kind of more of a normal racetrack here, Alex. Charlotte Motor Speedway. It should be a good race. Charlotte Motor Speedway usually produces good racing, and we have a really good driver on the pole here today, Daniel Nanny, starting up front.
Yeah, Daniel Nanny, I believe, making his first start of the season, and it's gonna be difficult for these competitors as his time as he was away, he's found a lot of speed in his driving ability, and so it's gonna be hard for these competitors to defeat him.
As they start to do their pace laps here, I think we're gonna try to maybe talk to one of our drivers here, Alex.
Yeah, we're gonna be looking to get Matthew Rodriguez hopefully in just a quick second here, because this is a driver we're gonna be looking at possibly periodically throughout the day carrying the Flatout Racing Network banner on his vehicle. Matthew Rodriguez, welcome to the booth. What do you expect from the race today?
Oh, howdy. Missed my button.
Matthew Rodriguez, what do you expect from the race out there today in Charlotte?
Definitely gonna be a tire-saving race. Biggest concern is it has to be right front, but obviously earlier into the run, just making sure you're not churning up the tires. You burn up the right front, it's gonna go like a lawn dart very quickly.
Now, from your perspective, we're going to be starting in the 30th position as we're looking on board with you right now. What do you expect the initial start to be from your perspective versus some of the guys at the front?
I'd like to believe a lot of people in the back are gonna take it easy on this restart. We're not gonna push it 2-3 wide at the drop of the green flag. The guys up front, they kind of have the easy job here. All they really have to do is maintain, just make sure we're saving their tires. Realistically, I really don't want to be a guy in the front because you're going to be pretty much charged by everyone trying to burn up their tires, trying to get high, or trying to get all the way to the front immediately.
All right, and just before we quickly get through the lineup after we're done with you here, I want to ask you a question. Do you expect a good number of long runs to happen today?
I'd love to be optimistic. Obviously, everyone wants to shake the last 2 races that we've had. I'm hoping that it stays clean and green, and we can get some good green flag runs in.
All right, well, thank you, Matthew Rodriguez, for coming in to talk to us. We're going to be looking forward to seeing that truck hopefully further up the field later in the day today, but for now, have a good race, and we'll hopefully talk to you later.
Thank you. I'll try not to wreck.
All right, well, that was Matthew Rodriguez, ladies and gentlemen, and just before we get the green flag, I think it's a good idea to talk about at least our top 5 drivers, some of the guys starting up at the front here. So, Kyle, why don't you go ahead and start?
We have some good drivers up here in the front. Daniel Nanny, I mentioned. Christopher Heller coming fresh off his victory. You have Josh Cottle up here. He's a really good short track racer, trying to do a good job here on the 1.5 miles. And then Henry, a driver I was talking about before we even went live here, Alex, I really want him to snag that win. He's been so close so many times. And then you have Nathan Jump and Jake Miller in row number 3. Nathan Jump has been a surprise this season, has jumped onto the scene, has put in some good runs. And then, of course, Jake Miller, the reigning champ, as we're about to take the green flag here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. The green flag is waving in the air for Daniel Nanny in the Fanta Ford. A good restart from him, a good start from him on the inside. He's going to be able to clear Heller going into turns 1 and 2.
I saw a big move in the background there with Brendan Barkuski taking it 3 wide on the initial start and gaining a spot in the outside lane. That's very difficult to do here at this racetrack, but he's found his way into the position, and now everybody's starting to line up behind that leader, get single file as the battle's right around the 3rd and 4th position with Zachary Henry on the outside.
Battling throughout the field, but that front 3 is clear. Nanny, Cottle, and Heller trying to maybe separate from the rest as the battling is going on throughout the field, too wide throughout.
Yeah, Nathan Jump and Zachary Henry are going at it for the fourth position right now, but Nathan Jump's going to slot in line. Now we're going to be looking to see who else slots in line as Barkowski and RJ Williams are side by side. Right now, that outside lane seems to be working pretty well for some of these drivers, but as the run starts to go on, as Barkowski gets into the wall very hard, that's going to put some significant damage on that vehicle.
Yeah, at a lot of the tracks we've been at recently, that's not really going to hurt you. But at a track like Charlotte, it might not affect them on the short run. But if we get these long green flag runs, you best believe that's really going to hurt Brandon Barkowski's chances.
Yeah, and as he's getting passed by the field right here, you immediately see what that damage has done to his race car. He's already lost 3 positions from the initial hit and is already losing some time to the drivers behind, as it looks like Michael Senzi's going to be looking for the move up the inside heading down to turn 1.
Sensi looking to make the move. He's going to the inside of the number 25 of Barkowski, a battle for the 10th position. Then right behind him, you have Matthew Durr and Elliott Henderson. But we might have a battle for the lead here momentarily as Josh Cottle's closed up to the bumper of Daniel Nanny, was peeking to the inside, going to 3 and 4. Thought better of it. He's falling back for now. There you see our race leaders right there.
Yeah, all of them running very competitively, or one on top of the other for the top 3 right here. Then there's a little bit of a gap to Zachary Henry behind. He's going to be looking to find a bit of a gap here on the longer run. But this is a racetrack where you can save some good tire and find a lot of pace later on throughout the run.
I was mentioning how Josh Cottle is really strong on the short tracks, but he's really strong pretty much anywhere we go. And there he goes to the inside of Daniel Nanny, going into 3 and 4. Can he clear him off the corner? He will not. Nanny will get the run off the corner, and they will battle coming down to the start-finish line.
Extremely strong run on the outside, though, for Daniel Nanny to defend. By this point in the run, you expect the bottom to start working out, but the caution is out in the back. Something has happened to the field, and oh, massive wreck down in turn 1. Ashton Lawson, Brandon Barkowski, and several others involved, as I'm still seeing drivers get hit.
Yeah, I think I saw Matt Daniels and Shane Neiswanger make some contact back there. Ashton Lawson around in the 24. There you see him, Season 4 champion, rocking the Jimmy Johnson paint scheme with a good amount of damage. And then right before that happened, Christopher Heller had also exited the race.
Chris Heller exited the race. That's a very unfortunate series of events for him, but we're going to be having a look at what happened here, I believe on the front straightaway to start all that happened, because that was a lot occurring there. That was a very, very big wreck for this early on in the race.
Yeah, very big accident. Started up all the way coming out of turn 4 almost, and that's a huge accident to start this race. Very heavy battling. We're going to get the replay here for you. Looks like it's going to start right coming out of turn 4. I'm going to get you the view right here. Looks like Matthew Durr in the number 2. You see him right there. Elliott Henderson right there as well. And you also see the number 1 machine is there of Brett Kingcott around there as well. You see Lawson on the high side. They're going to be 3 wide here. And Kingcott and the number 2 of Durr make contact. And there goes Brittle. And they all just start piling up in turns 1 and 2.
Oh, what a massive wreck for these guys. And even ahead of what we saw with Matthew Durr there was an even bigger accident. And I actually had mistaken Matt Daniels for Barkowski. They have very similar paint schemes, but Matt Daniels with a big flip heading down into turn 1 after some massive contact.
Here we are going to take another look at this replay here going into turns 1 and 2. We'll come going into turns 3 and 4 actually. Sorry for the issues right here. Matt Daniels on the high side, it looks like.
Yeah, we've just had a lot that occurred there. We saw people checking up, going 3 wide, coming out of turn 4. Obviously, the big checkup on the outside, that was from Barkowski giving the bumper to Ashton Lawson, it looked like, which brought them all together. And then we saw the contact with Kingcott. And just ahead here in turn 1, 4 wide, big contact just ahead of them, and cars piling up behind, hopefully get a better look of it, hopefully from the perspective of Matt Daniels, because he was a good bit behind this accident, but probably got the biggest hit of everybody. Curious as to how he ended up getting turned around, because that's a big, big wreck early on in the race.
Yeah, it looks like he makes contact with Perez going into the corner, and then Perez is trying to save it. Lawson's backed it down, and Perez is just sliding up the racetrack. And that's when Barkuski gives a little nudge to Lawson, just enough to put him out of the groove. Then you see that contact with King Cott and Durr, and then King Cott gets into Lawson, and they all just kind of pile up right here. And there goes Daniels. Daniels goes for a hell of a ride in that number 5 machine.
Yeah, big contact between him and Ashton Lawson, who is sliding off the outside wall right there. This is going to be a bit of a crazy onboard, ladies and gentlemen, as we see him kind of heading towards the pack. He starts to slow down, seems to get hit from behind, and as we approach the wreck here, he thinks he's clear, and oh no, not the kind of sight you want to see heading down into turn 1 at Charlotte. No, collecting a couple more drivers, trying to sneak by him.
While we were looking at these replays here, I would like to note that Christopher Heller has re-entered the race. He is a couple laps down in the number 11 machine, but he is back in the race. Christopher Heller, winner last week at Twin Ring Motegi, and he started on the front row, but he has a lot of work to do if he wants to get back into this race.
Yeah, luckily having that victory on the season pretty much locks him into the playoffs, so he doesn't have to worry about gaining any extra points here tonight. But of course, you do want to consistently finish well and try and rack up as many points as you can just to really assert your dominance here in the championship season. But ultimately, once you reach your way to the playoffs, it's all about those races. So for the moment, not the worst loss.
And the lights are out on the iRacing pace truck. Josh Cottle, currently your race leader, has decided to restart on the inside, which will force Daniel Nanny to the outside of row 1, row 2 right behind them. On the inside, you have the number 12 of Zachary Henry, and on the outside, you have Nathan Jump. And then right behind them, you have Jake Miller in the number 4 machine. And then it looks like to be RJ Williams in the number 21, having a good run here at Charlotte early. What are you really looking for on this restart here, Alex? Do you think these guys are going to be able to clean it up, or do you think we might have another caution before we go for a potential long green flag run?
Well, I mean, the restart was not the issue for these drivers. It was the run afterwards. Once everybody started picking up a lot of pace, that's when we saw the accident occur. So I'm not expecting the restart to be overly rough, as typically, you know, one lane is faster than the other. Though we saw in the initial start, that was the outside lane. But with the older tires, will the inside lane be the stronger one this time by? And that's what I'm going to be watching out for.
Here they come off turns 3 and 4 on lap number 10 of 134 here at Charlotte. Cottle restarting as the leader. When does he decide to hit the gas as they're approaching the Geico restart zone? The pace truck pulls down pit lane once again, and the green flag is in the air for our Great Lakes Truck Series drivers. A good restart from the 32 of Cottle. He might be able to clear Nanny, and he will. Nanny drops down behind him. He actually throws a little bit of a block on Henry. Henry's all over his bumper going into 1 and 2.
Big move there for Daniel Nanny to slot himself in line, and he's going to use that on the restart to get to the inside of Josh Cottle down into turns 3 and 4. He's going to have the preferred lane down here. He takes a very wide arc, does not get that car down to the paint until very late in the corner. Might sacrifice some speed on corner exit, but looking like a good battle for the lead as Cottle holds it.
Cottle holds on to the race lead for now. Nanny right there behind. Here comes Jake Miller in the number 4. He's trying to take over the 3rd position. Slid a little bit in 1 and 2, and he'll give the spot back to Henry. Henry slots back into 3rd. Nathan Jump right behind him, and the battle's on behind him. Looks like Henderson on the inside trying to get past Sensi in the number 92.
Sounds like we're going to be looking at the number 25 car with a restart penalty. That is Brandon Barkuski, ladies and gentlemen. One of our front runners early on in the event got involved in that last accident. And this is going to be a painful one. Going a lap down here is not what you want under green flag conditions.
A lot of struggles for 25-11 early of Jordan Gonzalez, who's a couple of laps down with damage. Christopher Heller, who exited the race and then re-entered a couple laps down. Now Brandon Barkuski with the restart penalty. Not the start that 25-11 wanted.
No, not at all. We got multiple drivers lap down right to start the race. Not ideal situations, but right now they still have at least one beacon with Zachary Henry in the top 3.
Nanny continues to put that pressure on Cottle, but not really making a move, just letting him know he's there. There you see the number 30 of Daniel Nanny. No number on the vehicle, but he is the number 30 machine in that Fanta Ford. There's the onboard look at Daniel Nanny, a really talented driver and one of the most decorated drivers here in the Great Lakes Series.
Yeah, he just wanted some extra sponsor exposure. That number is distracting, but it seems like for now it's being allowed as he's still racing right at the front of the field with that truck.
Nanny gonna run the high side a little bit here in 3 and 4, drops back down behind Cottle. The front 10 or 11 are keeping it pretty civilized. The first battle I'm seeing on track right now is Tyler McClellan and Matthew Rodriguez. He's been coming through the field. He's up to the 14th spot.
Well, I asked if he could get that Flatout Racing Network vehicle further up the field, and he's done a good job of that so far. 16 laps into the race, he's already gained about 16 positions from his initial start, so he's doing a good job right now.
A couple of drivers there have been really on the move. McClellan has really moved up as well. You also have Cameron Perez, who's been making some moves up through the field as well, as we have battle for the lead. A huge run for Nanny coming down the front straightaway, and he was able to dive it in there on Cottle, and he's going to clear him with ease. A great move from Daniel Nanny, and he takes the race lead back.
Big moves from Daniel Nanny, find his way back up into the lead position. This deep in the run on that old tire, I was wondering whether he'd be able to get back to him, but he was able to. As we see in a very intense battle right around the 9th and 10th position here. 2 wide, 2 rows deep, looking for these guys. Big battles going on for every point they can get.
You have Henderson and Sensi back here. Steven Sims and the number 6 machine right in front of them as well. Some good battles going on. Austin Moore and Gavin Fitzgerald want to enter the conversation as well in the 91 and 14.
Right now, that outside lane is making some serious progress against Michael Senzi. He's losing some spots running that bottom lane. I'm just surprised to see that. You don't typically see that bottom lane lose out here at Charlotte, but seems these trucks have got quite an interesting piece underneath all these drivers.
It seems like the longer these drivers go, that high lane seems to come in just a little bit more. Here you see Henderson putting the pressure on Sims. Can he maybe make a move? He's been slowly moving up as well in that 37 machine. He's looking to have a good run here at Charlotte Motor Speedway tonight. He's peeking to the high side. That seems to be the place to make the passes right now. Can he get to his high side going into 1 and 2? Not quite.
Oh, but a big move around the outside. He's going to get on the quarter in the center, but is he able to carry it off? Yes, he will. He's on the quarter panel, but the caution is out. Oh, big wreck around Aiden DuPont down and out of turn 2. Several drivers involved in this one. Once again, the big one at Charlotte Motor Speedway for the second time tonight.
Yeah, a lot of damage to the number 23 of it looks to be Robin Durr. A blown motor on that number 23 machine. A lot of damage on the 00 of Aiden DuPont. A lot of destroyed race cars early. Lap 20 of 134 here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Try to get you a replay on the incident here. Looks like the incident might have started with DuPont. Looks like you had contact from somebody. Going to try to get you that replay here in a moment.
Yeah, it made some big contact. I saw right afterwards there were a lot of drivers that piled into it, but here we are with DuPont around the outside holding a steady lane, but oh, seems like both drivers kind of came up towards each other there. The James Shiflett and the 28 coming up the track, tagging the left rear quarter panel and collecting several other drivers piling into the side door of Aiden DuPont in the process.
Yeah, it looked like that incident started with contact between DuPont and James Shiflett in the Miller Lite Toyota on the inside. We're going to get another look at this incident. You're going to see the contact here with Shiflett and DuPont. Yeah, it looks like DuPont came down a little bit and then Shiflett slid up the track and then just a lot of contact with a couple other drivers. Looks like Nixon had a little bit of contact in that as well, a couple of drivers, but no driver had more damage than Robin Durr on that incident.
Yeah, one of the drivers right in the middle of that incident and luckily didn't make any contact. You see just ahead of the onboard right here is Brandon Barkuski, who was the first car lap down. He'll manage to get the lucky dog, but oof, big hits right there on that truck. That's going to do some good damage to that front end, if not the engine as well.
I'm going to try to take an onboard look of Brandon Barkuski, driver of the number 25 machine. Let's see what he saw. You see the 71 right in front of him, and that's kind of where the incident starts. There you see the contact right there. He's very patient. He's kind of just waiting and waiting to see where he needs to go. Very smart and very patient from the driver of the number 25.
Once again, big maneuvers for all these guys to try and capitalize on whatever they can get from these cautions. And in the case of Barkuski, he gets his lap back and will be right back in contention with the rest of the field. But seems like we may have had a couple of our leaders pit here, unless if the drivers ahead of them may have been a lap down. The order is currently a little bit messy as his driver's a bit all over the place, but looks to be Daniel Nanny is the current leader, but that they all pit, and these drivers ahead are looking to get the wave around to get their lap back.
And Daniel Nanny is currently your race leader. You have Josh Cottle in second, Zachary Henry currently running in the third spot, Jake Miller in fourth, and Nathan Jump rounding out your top five. You have RJ Williams in sixth, Steven Sims in seventh, Elliott Henderson in eighth, Austin Moore in ninth, and then Gavin Fitzgerald is your current top 10 here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And Nanny's looked really strong early. He had the fastest lap. He started on pole, but it seems like he really gets going after 5 or 10 laps.
Yeah, the problem we've been having right at the moment is how long is that going to take you to get to 5 or 10 laps? And then once you get there, how long can you stay there? Because so far we've had 2 cautions in a matter of 20 laps. And that's really hurt the advantage that Daniel Nanny has out in the long run. And it's really going to change the mindset for some of these drivers. Because if you could gain a lot of positions in the short run, and then caution comes out, and you take new tires, you basically lost nothing that you would have lost on the long runs.
See these drivers get the wave round, it looks like this time by, seeing if the lights go out on the pace truck. And there goes the lights on the pace truck, and all these drivers are going to get a wave around and get one, if not both of their laps back. That includes Christopher Heller, looks like Matthew Durr, Matt Daniels driving around.
Alright, so interesting pick here from Daniel Nanny. He's going to take the top side on this initial start. Now, remember last time when we, initially started the race, the outside lanes seemed to be the better lane. It was the place where people were making up more spots, or at least maintaining, versus some guys on the bottom really struggling to keep their spots. So, interesting choice here from Daniel Nanny to take the high side.
I think it's a mixture of that, and also you have to keep in mind the driver that's behind him. If he restarts on the inside, he has Zachary Henry. If Zachary Henry gets in front of Cottle, he's not willing to really be as aggressive as maybe Jake Miller would be. Jake Miller, he gets up to second, and Cottle tries to get around him. Miller's not going to let him by as easy. Miller's really going to fight him. So that might be a strategic move from the number 30 as well, as we're about to take the green flag.
Yeah, we will likely be expecting the second and fourth place drivers to be battling down into turn 1, but as the pace truck takes that left-hand turn, we're going to be heading for the green flag, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see if he goes for an early start.
Here they come to the restart zone. Green flag is out for Daniel Nanny. Jake Miller with a decent restart on the high side. RJ Williams with a great restart. He is all over the bumper of Miller going into turns 1 and 2, and Miller and Cottle are going to battle it out through turns 1 and 2.
Saw Zachary Henry a little bit further back, almost make contact with RJ, watching off the track a little bit, but big fight here for the second position between Jake Miller and Josh Cottle. I think that's exactly what Daniel Nanny wanted. He's going to dump some big dirty air in the nose of Josh Cottle, really get him tight, but he's going to keep it going around the bottom as they're too wide, multiple rows deep here.
Good battle for second here, but Miller looks like he might back off going into turns 1 and 2. He gives Cottle the spot for now. Cottle moves up to second, Miller in third, Henry in fourth, RJ Williams and Nathan Jump battling out for fifth, and here comes Elliott Henderson in the 37.
Completely different restarts for the lead. Josh Cottle up the inside. He's looking to take it away. Not going to be able to that time by, but strong moves early on to try and go for the lead. Josh Cottle seems to have the short run speed tonight.
This front three looks to be very competitive at the moment. Cottle driving right back up on the number 30 of Nanny. Can he make a move? They're continuing to battle around the 6th and 7th spot. Nathan Jump and Austin Moore are battling. Elliott Henderson and Gavin Fitzgerald.
Yeah, once again, too wide, multiple rows deep for these drivers. They're making a lot of moves on both the bottom and the top, and the lanes seem to be working pretty equally versus what we were seeing a little bit earlier on in the race. As the long run goes on, though, we saw that top side really make some progress as Austin Moore takes it to the outside of RJ Williams.
Austin Moore looking to snag another spot. He's been really on the move in that number 91 machine. He seems to have a hot rod tonight. He's gonna try to clear Williams off 3 and 4, and he will in the number 91 machine. And now he sets his sights on Zachary Henry.
Very strong moves coming out of this 91 truck. He's making a lot of progress up here. We're gonna be seeing that mile an hour through the corner. 166 mile an hour as he drives off the corner. We're going to be seeing all the way upwards of 180 mile an hour heading down to turn 3. Big moves as the drivers ahead are side by side. Jake Miller trying to hold off the spot versus Zachary Henry, but Zachary Henry looks to have the move around the outside.
Zach Henry might be able to clear him going into 1 and 2. It looks like he will. There he goes. Henry up to the 3rd spot. Miller back to 4th. Austin Moore putting the pressure on Miller with Williams right behind.
All right, they all single file it out for the top 6. Never mind for the lead. Josh Cottle pulls out into turn 3. He's going to hook it on the bottom side, but just does not have the momentum to hang on to it as Daniel Nanny absolutely drives around him. Zachary Henry might be looking for the move down here. He's going to take it to the outside for the 2nd spot. Costly move there for Cottle.
Cottle went really hard on the entry, and he really paid for it on the exit of turns 3 and 4 as Henry now looks to make the pass for second on the outside. He might be able to clear him going into 3 and 4, the driver of the number 12.
Zachary Henry, power move around the outside. This outside lane is making some progress, ladies and gentlemen. We're seeing a lot of speed come out of that lane. Very different from what I'm used to at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Henry clears the number 32 of Cottle. Now he sets his sights on Nanny. Jake Miller in the 4th spot. Austin Moore still right behind him. Not much separation here within the top 15.
Yeah, Austin Moore looking to hold off RJ Williams, who had some strong momentum around the outside. He's going to clear him into 3. Then the battle behind is between Nathan Jump and Fitzgerald, who's having a good run here today at Charlotte. But man, these guys are jostling all over the place. Big moves there for RJ Williams to duck it to the inside. Can he hold it down in 1 and 2? We've seen that outside lane be pretty easy to hold off positions with, but it looks like he's making some good progress hugging that paint on the bottom.
Yeah, Williams taking a really low line, almost a perfect line on the bottom, but just not able to get the full run off. Moore is still on his high side. Can Williams maybe clear him this time in 3 and 4? He really sends it through the corner, but he's not going to be able to clear him quite yet.
And Nathan Jump is going to provide a little bit of help here to that inside lane, try and give a bit of a push there. It didn't seem to help too much down the front straightaway, but through 1 and 2, ooh, RJ Williams nicks the apron a little bit. That's going to cost him on corner exit big time. But with the help of Nathan Jump, he should be able to still hold on to this position up the inside. 3 and 4, these guys have been battling for almost 2 laps now.
Some good battles up here within the top 10. Top 4 is trying to get away. Daniel Nanny, Zach Henry, Josh Cottle, and Jake Miller beginning to separate from the rest of the field as the battles continue.
Yeah, the biggest battle on the track right now is desperately for what's gonna end up being the 6th position between Nathan Jump and Austin Moore, as RJ Williams has finally gotten around him, is gonna try and track down the leaders, but Austin Moore is holding a pretty penny around that outside, and Gavin Fitzgerald is holding to capitalize, but now we're starting to see this bottom lane really make some speed.
The bottom line and the high line just seem so even at the moment. It's definitely providing some very good racing here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and like I said a few laps ago, not much separation. These drivers have kept together for a pretty long time on this run.
Yeah, so far we're not seeing any big gaps. Surprisingly, the only gaps we're seeing is when guys really start to battle, and only a very minor gap between 1st and 2nd place, but for the rest of the field, they're pretty much right on top of each other for the most part.
Definitely some very competitive racing here today at Charlotte Motor Speedway for the CHA 200, race number 6 of the season. And there you see Nathan Jump and Austin Moore continue to go back and forth, but Gavin Fitzgerald really wants in on this battle, but he does not know where to put his nose.
And now we're seeing that bright green machine of Elliott Henderson trying to nose his way into this battle, give some assistance to Gavin Fitzgerald around the top side, and is going to allow him to make the move around Nathan Jump. And I think that might be a bit of a move that some of these other competitors are going to be watching, is the fact that Elliott just gave a little bit of a push to Gavin, and now all of a sudden they're blowing past that bottom lane.
Gavin Fitzgerald and Elliott Henderson trying to make up some spots there on the high lane. Fitzgerald still not quite clear of Jump. Didn't get through turn 3 and 4 that great in the number 14 machine, and Nathan Jump actually had more of a run off the corner than the 14 machine did.
Yeah, we saw Gavin get a little bit tight around the top side, really close to the wall, almost hit it off turn 4, but Nathan Jump thought he might have been able to get clear, I think, and started to come up, but when he realized he wasn't, darted right back to the left, and that's going to give some big momentum boost to Gavin Fitzgerald, who's holding the outside lane, should have the run off. I don't know if he's going to be able to clear with this curved front straightaway, but he will, and now Fitzgerald has now gained the 7th position away from Nathan Jump.
Good move from Fitzgerald. Now Elliott Henderson on the attack. He's trying to get to the outside of the number 29 of Jump. Here you see Bobby Carter. Can he get past the number 29 of Jump? As we might have a battle for second here momentarily. Cottle's been catching up to the number 12 the last few laps, but this battle continues right here between the 29 and the 37.
Yeah, again, we're seeing that outside lane just moving, making some big progress when they're trying to pass people. Just seems like that bottom lane can't keep up the speed that they need to run around this racetrack. And look at the truck right behind them, Kyle. We're starting to see the Flatout Racing Network really represent here in the top 10.
And Matthew Rodriguez, he's really beginning to figure out Charlotte. He seems to have a lot of speed here. The longer we go in that number 57 machine, he's driven all the way up to the 10th position. Definitely been one of the biggest, if not the biggest mover of the race, him and Tyler McClellan.
Yeah, and I mean, a couple of the drivers ahead of him are equally as big movers. Austin Moore from the 20th position to 6th, and Gavin Fitzgerald from the 26th position to 7th. So we've got a lot of positions moving up and down the field, especially thanks to that big wreck we saw on lap 8 and the next big wreck on lap 20.
Battling continues right here as Henderson and Fitzgerald are now beginning to go back and forth. Henderson on the inside of Gavin Fitzgerald, looking to move into that 7th position right here. Can he make the pass? Fitzgerald still holding tight on the high side. Nathan Jump, he's trying to figure out where to go. He's going to give Fitzgerald a little bit of a push down the back straightaway.
Yeah, it looks like Nathan Jump is kind of equally giving a push to these guys, kind of forcing them into a battle, but I think that's really just checking up Nathan Jump more so than anybody else, because the guys ahead of him have really pulled out a gap on them. They're almost 8, 9 tenths back from the driver in Austin Moore, and I think these guys are losing a lot of time battling here.
They've been going back and forth for quite a while. First it was Jump and Fitzgerald, and now it's Fitzgerald and Henderson, and now you have Rodriguez that's trying to join this battle as well in the number 57 machine. Henderson trying to clear Fitzgerald off the corner, and he's just barely going to clear him, it looks like, and now Nathan Jump is to the inside of Fitzgerald.
Henderson finally gets clear of that bright yellow machine of Fitzgerald, but here comes Nathan Jump looking to try and get his position back away from Gavin, but he's got to watch out from behind as Rodriguez is right on his tail waiting to pounce.
Second, third, and fourth are getting a little bit closer. Miller has really closed the gap on Cottle, and Cottle's really closed the gap on Henry, and all three of them are trying to close the gap on Daniel Nanny. We could have a battle for the lead here momentarily.
Yeah, the biggest thing I've been seeing is Jake Miller might be looking to the inside of Josh Cottle here. He's been one of the biggest closers here in the last few laps. He's been getting right to the back bumper of Josh Cottle, trying to take it to the outside to get a big run down the straightaway. This might be where we see the pass. He's got a big run coming. Oh, but he's going to get to the bumper of Cottle. Not able to get underneath him in time, but now they're side by side, and just ahead of them, Zachary Henry on the back bumper of Daniel Nanny. I was wondering what the long run pace of Nanny was, but it looks like Zachary Henry has got the edge over him.
Henry's trying to get to the quarter panel, wasn't quite able to. Now he's going to dive to the inside of Daniel Nanny going into 3 and 4. Nanny going to try to hold the high side. Jake Miller's taking away the third spot behind them as well. Miller closing in. Henry's tight off the corner. Nanny doesn't give much space, and they're going to be at a dead heat coming across the line.
Watch out, Jake Miller is right in the middle of this. We know how aggressive he is. He might end up taking it 3 wide if these guys check up like that down the back straightaway. Let's watch out for what happens here. Oh, Daniel Nanny very tight off the corner. That's going to give the run to Henry. Jake Miller's going to push Nanny to try and force these guys side by side again through 3 and 4. This is what Jake Miller wants. He wants to try and set up a big pass here.
Henry on the inside, still not clear of Nanny. Miller giving a push to Henry on the front straightaway. Who would have thought this? Miller giving a push to the 25-11 machine of Henry. Henry to the race lead. He's going to clear Nanny. And now Miller and Nanny are going to battle it out for second.
Yeah, it looks like Daniel Nanny is really starting to lose the grip in the center of the corner. Just getting really, really tight. He's not able to drive it off, while his competitors have really capitalized on that fact. Now he's going to get passed by Jake Miller, and even Josh Cottle is looking to the inside of Nanny.
RJ Williams has entered the conversation as well, and Austin Moore and Henderson are also catching up to these drivers as well. Right before pit stops, these drivers are going to be pitting any lap now.
Yeah, they all pit on lap 21, 22, so they've already gone just about 27 to 28 laps on gas, and they're going to be running out soon enough here, especially with the reduced fuel loads we have in these vehicles. But as of right now, top 5 right on top of each other. Let's see what happens when they go through the pit stops.
Seems like out of the top 5, the driver with the fastest truck on the long run is Jake Miller. Henry also really fast on the long run, but can Miller make it past Henry? They have a couple of lap cars in front of them. Oh, one of them almost spins on the inside trying to get out of the way.
Yeah, Jake Miller really capitalized on that as Zachary Henry took it to the outside to get around the lap car. Miller took it to the bottom and really gained a lot of time on him. Now he's to the back bumper, and as they approach even more lap traffic, that might give Jake Miller the opportunity he needs to duck it to the inside. Look out, turn 1, he's up the inside.
And Jake Miller sends it to the inside. Henry all the way up against the wall. And he's going to get a great run off the corner in the number 12 machine. It looks like he might be able to hang on to the spot for now. But Jake the Snake Miller is going to try again for sure.
Oh, he wasn't able to hold on to it that time, but being that close to the bumper, I'm worried he might give him a little bit of a boot here. Probably not what you want to do at 1.5 miles to another competitor you run up front with week to week, but if he gets any closer, he's going to be hitting him.
And Jake Miller putting the pressure on Henry. Henry running that high lane, a very defensive line at the moment because he's noticed just how hard it is to complete that pass. on the inside. So a defensive line right now from the number 12 machine.
Yeah, these two really duking it out for the lead. It's kind of allowing the drivers behind to really stay in the fight. I mean, Daniel Nanny, we saw how much pace he lost there versus the top two, yet he's still hanging on to the same gap that he had 2 laps ago. So it seems like the battling between these top two is starting to slow them down a little bit.
I didn't see too much fight out of Nanny when those two got by. So in my opinion, it really looked like Nanny knew that his tires were weaker, and at that point just really tried to cool them off just at least a little bit, just enough to really even out those tires. He's been able to hang on tight for that 3rd spot for now, but Cottle has been right there the whole time. If the number 30 of Nanny slips up one bit, Cottle and his teammate Williams are going to go right past him.
And Kyle, I think I heard a little bit of chatter on the radio. Gavin Fitzgerald's going to be pitting from the 9th position. That means these drivers are reaching the end of their fuel numbers. We're going to be seeing them duck down pit road for a green flag pit stop.
One of the first drivers coming down pit road as well looks to be Eric Kepf. Not a big surprise there. A driver that already usually is one of the early pitters and really vibes on the strategy, and we might have battled for the lead here. Miller, he's going to send it into 1 and 2. Henry did not get into 1 and 2 very strong at all, and Miller's going to clear him off the corner. He's going to shut the door, and Henry's going to try to cross over to the inside.
They're essentially going to want to try to be inside of the other competitor. It's going to stop them from pitting when they might want to pit. Looking to see if one of them takes the left-hand turn. No, none of them do. It looks like Daniel Nanny's taking it. Elliott Henderson is taking it down pit road. And several others, Austin Moore as well, all from the top 10. These drivers are going to find a big lap time gain in this next lap, but are going to be run down as the laps go on.
The drivers I'm watching are these drivers that are still on track. We've seen it happen almost every time here in the Great Lakes Truck Series. The drivers that stay out the longest have the fresher tires at the end of the run, and it usually ends up paying off for them. Here comes Miller on pit road. Almost spun it.
Jake Miller with an extremely aggressive entry. Zachary Henry a lot more conservative, but that allowed Josh Cottle to make up a lot of time on him. And the problem is Josh Cottle's to the inside of Zachary Henry's going to have to watch out. Okay, Henry has the spot before him. Watches all these drivers line up one on top of the other, and we're going to be seeing who has the better pit stop.
They all got into their boxes okay. It looked like all 5 of those drivers got into their boxes okay. Which will be the first one out? Rodriguez also on pit road in the number 57, it looks like. Here he comes down pit road, and Miller looks like he's going to get out first by a long shot over Henry and Cottle.
And it was a tight battle between Henry and Cottle. Do watch out on the pit lane exit, right at the exit of pit lane. It's very, very slick for these drivers. Gotta watch out getting back to the throttle, but here comes Daniel Nanny. He gets loose and hits the wall. Oh no, Daniel Nanny with a disastrous effort through 1 and 2. Significant damage to that race truck.
And that was a horrible mistake for Daniel Nanny. He saw the other leaders, the guys he was battling with, and smashed the gas on those cold tires and hit the wall. A very, very bad mistake from the number 30 machine of Daniel Nanny, who might have been the fastest truck here today, but now he will most likely not get to victory lane as he comes back down pit road.
Definitely some massive damage there for Daniel Nanny. Gonna try and see if you can get the quick replay of this as we go through turns 1 and 2. We're gonna see him approaching his competitors who are coming out of the pit lane. He's gonna wrap it right around the bottom, but as he approaches corner exit, oh, he just kind of seems like he corrects when his truck was not loose and drives right up into the outside wall. Quite bizarre looking from the outside perspective, but that's gonna pretty much end Daniel Nanny's night.
Now the driver I'm really going to be watching the rest of this race is Jake Miller. I mentioned it right before we had pit stops. He seemed to be the quickest driver on the long run, and now he's in the race lead, and with a decent gap, a little over a half-second gap back to second place, Zach Henry. So Jake Miller really sitting in the catbird seat at this point.
Yeah, Miller with that big pit stop. If this continues green, he's going to have a massive advantage, and as we also mentioned the incident with Daniel Nanny, Nanny has officially left the server, so he has finished the race and will not continue this event from here on out. But a lot of positions changing as, the leader with some lap traffic is going to cost some time versus his competitor.
And you have to keep in mind, Christopher Heller is teammates with Zachary Henry, the driver in second place. They're both part of 25-11 Racing, and that's going to really help Henry. Henry caught up a decent amount to the number 4 of Miller. I mentioned it a moment ago that Henry was a little over half second behind Miller. Now he's only 3/10 behind Jake Miller, so that definitely narrowed the gap a decent amount. And they're having conversations on the radio, Miller and Heller going back and forth.
Well, in that instance, I mean, Heller had every right to really hold that position. He wanted to try and stay on the lead lap if he could, and possibly also help his teammate in second place in Zachary Henry. So, I mean, for the 25-11 bunch, that was a bit of a help there, but for Jake Miller, definitely not what he wanted to happen.
Here comes Henry, Cottle, and Henderson. Henderson was able to snag a couple of spots because he came in a lap earlier than a lot of these drivers up here. Oh, and it looks like the lap car got into the wall up there. Everyone's going to be able to get past him, okay, it looks like. But Henderson came in a lap earlier than these drivers, so that might hurt him on the long run. But for now, it looks to be a benefit.
Yeah, I think right at the moment that track position gain he got over RJ Williams and secured his position ahead of Austin Moore is definitely going to help him out, but the question is definitely going to be, what does that one lap do to the tires? I know one lap doesn't sound like much, but once these tires really start to fall off the cliff is when you're going to notice his lap times really slow down, as RJ Williams is looking to prey on him for that 4th position.
One driver I'm curious about, he lost a decent amount of time during this pit stop sequence. That was the number 14 of Gavin Fitzgerald. He was one of the first drivers that came down pit road, but yet he's back in 10th. A couple of seconds back from these drivers that he was battling previously in the driver, the number 14 machine. I have to see if maybe he can get back up there, but it's unfortunate that he lost time during pit stops when he should have maybe gained time.
Yeah, that's kind of the strategy pick you pull when coming down pit road early, is you want to gain as much track position as humanly possible on that new tire when everybody cycles around, and one of the worst things you can do is have a slow pit stop, so that's not exactly what that number 14 team wanted to have happen, as he's actually in a current battle right now with, I believe... No, oh, that was a lap car, my apologies, the one of Brett Kingcott, but just behind him, I believe that may also be another lap car, so I'm just losing my mind here with cars all over the place.
Henry's really cut the gap when it comes to the number 4 of Miller. He's only around 1 truck length back of the number 4 machine of Miller, and he was really close to his bumper coming into 1 and 2 that last time by. Henry maybe trying to approach the number 4 to take the race lead back, as Cottle and Henderson are right there as well.
I mean, the top 4 have really started to stack up on top of one another. The gaps were kind of spread out a little bit, but now, behind Jake Miller, it's just starting to become a train. I would have to watch out if he gets stuck on the outside lane, because that could mean a long line of cars taking a conga line underneath them.
Henderson thought about trying to get to the outside of Cottle, and it almost cost him a spot to Williams. Williams stayed in behind him for now, but this front 6 has really separated themselves from the rest of the field. Austin Moore has kind of tagged along to the back of this front 5, and Miller and Henry and everybody just don't really seem like they really want to battle right now. Maybe want to try to save those tires, thinking that we're going to have a long green flag run here.
Yeah, and I mean, you brushed over him just a quick little bit, but I would like to give a slight highlight to Austin Moore right now. You know, we don't typically see him running this consistently at the front of the field, but seems to be in the spot to win this race, running in that 6th position, tagging along to the back end of this train. He's doing a good job tonight, starting from the 20th spot, mind you, and he's really keeping up that position he gained.
Austin Moore, always a very talented race car driver anytime he's out here, but a driver that usually faces a good amount of bad luck and gets involved into a decent amount of incidents, but always seems to have a lot of speed, especially at tracks like this, like Charlotte, like the old Atlanta, like Texas. Tracks like that, he seems to show a lot of speed in this number 91 machine, and he's showing it again here tonight as he's threatening for a top 5, potentially a victory here tonight, as RJ Williams and Henderson begin to go back and forth for 4th.
Yeah, it's been a great view of this great battle between two very strong drivers in their own respective rights. You know, that 21 car making up some progress on the one lap newer tires, mind you, but Elliott's doing a good job holding on despite the older tire.
Henry was all over Miller's bumper on the back straightaway. He definitely could have made a move to the inside, but just decided not to at the moment. Maybe just trying to put that pressure on Miller, or maybe just waiting for the right time to make that move in the number 12 machine. He's going to go to the high side, actually, and Miller, what a move to the outside. Here comes Zach Henry. He had a great run going into the corner, jumps to the high side of Miller, and he might clear him going into 3 and 4.
Oh, Miller's gonna get right on the left rear quarter, almost made contact down into turn 3. I can't believe he didn't tag him there, but that's gonna allow him a big run on the bottom of 3 and 4, but Henry's gonna hold it around the outside. Some really competitive racing between these two with halfway through the race.
Almost contact going into 1 and 2, very close racing. The number 4 of Miller, the number 12 of Henry going back and forth. Henry gonna get the run off the corner. I don't think he's going to be able to clear him going into 3 and 4, though. They continue to go back and forth. Oh, Miller almost got him in the quarter panel.
Miller's really risking that race truck, taking it so close to that left rear quarter panel. One slight movement, and he tags Zachary Henry, and there's going to be another big one.
Henry fighting on that high side. Miller on the inside. Josh Cottle begin to catch up to both of them, and Henry might clear him finally off of 2. He will. Zach Henry back to the race lead for 25-11.
Really big maneuvers around the outside. Saw him higher than almost anybody else I've seen tonight, almost up towards the wall, and he made it work with a power move around Jake Miller.
Henry back to the race lead. Miller in the second spot. Does Cottle and Williams maybe approach Miller here? Henderson beginning to fall back a little bit. He's back to the 5th spot and now getting a lot of pressure from the number 91 of Moore. Those slightly older tires might be kicking in at the moment for the 37.
Yeah, I mean, we're already about 25 laps into when these drivers had started making their pit stops, so this is really when the tires start to struggle, and you'll see Elliott Henderson really hit that cliff before his competitors, and it'll be very obvious when it happens. Jake Miller getting some contention from Josh Cottle here. I think I also saw a slight bit of right side damage on that number 4 truck.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. A little bit of right side damage to Miller. Might have gotten up into the wall just a little bit at some point. It doesn't look like it would affect him at all. There you see it. Very slight right side damage. I don't think that's going to affect him necessarily on the long run or on the short run for the number 4 machine. So he should be okay, but it's definitely something to watch out for.
I mean, any damage is not great damage in these trucks, especially on the right side with that right rear quarter panel sticking out towards the wall, but he's holding on to the second spot, but is not without problems as Josh Cottle is right on the back bumper waiting for a slip-up from that pink machine.
These drivers are going to make another round of pit stops here very soon, here in around 10-15 laps. These drivers are going to be right back down pit road, and they're really trying to prep themselves and get into the right position for those pit stops.
Yeah, we saw him go just over 30 laps, about 35 to 33-ish laps before they made pit stops, so we're starting to approach that point this time by. We're just about 25 to 28 laps in, so imagine in the next 5 to 7 laps we're going to be seeing pit stops.
Yeah, we're going to start seeing those drivers that came in first come down pit road there. You see Hunter Madalinas, who's actually the points leader coming into tonight's race, but a decent amount of damage on that number 9 machine, currently running in the 22nd spot.
Yeah, Hunter Madalina's the points leader, but really struggled last week at Twin Ring Motegi, but managed to pull away an incredible top 3 finish after the chaos that was the final 40 laps of that event. But tonight, it seems like with this green flag run that he's not having the same kind of luck that he had last week. He'll go a lap down to the leaders.
Miller's gotten right back to the bumper of Henry. Miller looks like he might want to get right back into the race lead in the number 4 machine, putting that pressure on the number 12 of Henry. Henry even slipped up a little bit in 1 and 2 that last time by, and Henry doesn't get much of a run off of 3 and 4. Miller gets a fantastic run off the corner, and he's going to be right on his bumper once again going into 1 and 2.
Zachary Henry choosing to run that higher line into turn 1, really dumps some bad air onto the front nose of Jake Miller, making him very tight. Kind of acting a little defensive here right now, kind of watching his line, trying to make sure that he doesn't get the clean air.
We saw the same thing last time Henry was in the lead. Just runs a real defensive line when he's in the race lead, or a little bit of a higher line, just like you said, Alex, to throw that dirty air on the nose of the competitor behind him. And there you see the number 4 of Miller right behind the number 12 of Henry, not able to find any clean air through the corner.
We may also end up seeing a battle here for the 3rd spot, as RJ Williams is really closed up to the back bumper of Josh Cottle as well. The 2 battles we're looking at is for the lead and for 3rd, and they're all right on top of one another, so we won't need to change any cameras for that.
Miller peeking to the inside, going into 1 and 2, thinks better of it, falls back behind Henry, but definitely put that pressure on the number 12, but the 12 doesn't make a mistake this time around. Goes to the inside, a defensive line, does not get out of the corner very strong, and the number 4 of Miller has a run down the back straightaway.
What I'm really noticing here is that Jake Miller's getting a big draft off the back bumper of Zachary Henry. He's really pulling up to him about halfway down the straightaway, and that's allowing him to try and make a move like this where he'll pull to the inside and be side by side down into 1 and 2. Can he hold it on the bottom lane? We saw him struggle earlier in the same scenario, but this time by strong moves on the bottom, but will not be able to clear them just yet. They'll be stuck side by side down into 3.
That was so close. Oh, they're making contact! Henry almost up into the wall. He's going to keep it out of the wall, but a little left side damage to the number 12 of Henry, and more right side damage to the number 4 of Miller as they make contact for the race lead. Here comes RJ Williams. RJ Williams looking to move into 2nd.
That was the exact thing I was talking about, Kyle, is that Jake Miller was getting really close to that left rear quarter panel into 3, and that time by finally made contact to the left rear of Zachary Henry. Amazing that neither of those 2 ended up wrecking.
Yeah, it looks like not too much, if at all, any damage to the number 12 of Henry. So Henry might be okay, but he's going to have to try to recover from that, as now he's back in the 3rd spot and might lose a spot to Cottle, because RJ Williams immediately parked it in front of Henry so his teammate Cottle can get to the inside of Henry.
And something we haven't mentioned here today is that RJ Williams, Josh Cottle, both running in the top 5 teammates here tonight. Pretty much the only teammate duo we see right up at the front, though, with Elliott Henderson approaching the very front of the field on those slightly older tires. We might see Jake Miller and Elliott Henderson start working together.
We know how well Henderson and Miller work together. Henderson moving his way to the front. Henry has fallen back to 4th after the contact with Jake Miller, getting closer and closer to pit stops, as some drivers have already made their green flag pit stops.
Well, we're right about that point, Kyle. We're about 32 laps in. These drivers are going to start making stops in the next 2 to 3 laps, if they can make it that far even. But before that, can RJ Williams take the lead away from Jake Miller? Because he's got to be careful. If he's too close to that rear bumper when Jake Miller decides to pit, we could see some big contact between those 2 drivers.
And these drivers are going to try to get on pit lane as fast as they can and maybe try to make up some spots on pit lane. So if they all come down pit road at the same time, it could be chaos, and it could take out some of our top competitors here today, as these drivers have been just so close, very competitive all race long, between not even just the top 5 at the moment, but between many drivers. Top 10, top 15 drivers have been super close and competitive all race long.
Man, this is a difficult scenario for these guys at the front of the field. All those lapped cars on brand new tires wants to try and get their lap back from the leaders, and it's making it very tough to really make some progress like they were doing earlier, because every time they try and make a move, as, looks like, I believe that might have been Kyle Hall, almost doored Josh Cottle in the 32.
Very close right there coming out of pit lane. Kyle Hall on the high side. Now he's going to get past Jake Miller. Looks like Elliott Henderson just ducked down pit road, the first driver from the top 5 to come down pit road. Now, when do these other drivers come down pit road? Does Jake Miller, RJ Williams, Josh Cottle, Zachary Henry come down this time, or do they stay out another time around?
I don't even think they can make it much more than one lap, so if they don't come this time, they gotta come the next lap, I believe, because Elliott pit one lap before, and if he's pitting now, I'm not expecting these front 4 drivers to make it much further.
Austin Moore in the number 91 ducks down pit road from the 5th position. And our front 4 stay on the racetrack. The only drivers that have yet to come down pit road to make this pit stop, their second to last pit stop of the day. Do we see our race leader come down pit road this time? I think Jake Miller wants to, but he has Hayes right below him, and now he has Williams below him. Does he still try to duck down pit road? He does. He will actually. Last second makes that decision.
Oh, very tough there for Jake Miller to try and negotiate the pit entry. He will be able to do it. The top 4, once again, all pitting on the same lap, right on top of one another. And for what I'm looking at here on the dash, they made it from lap 57 to 58 when they pit, and they made it all the way to lap 92. That's about 33 to 34 laps. So these drivers are just going to be short of making it to the end by just about 10 laps. And that's going to be very tough for these guys, Kyle, because do you try and take fuel only or 2 tires to try and gain the advantage if this stays green?
And that's what I was literally thinking. I was thinking that maybe the strategy could be you're going to make up a lot of time on pit road, but isn't going to be enough compared to those 4 tires. I think the strategy might be to take 2 right side tires, plus maybe a half a tank of fuel.
Well, I'm also seeing a bit of a battle here between RJ Williams and Zachary Henry coming out of the pit lane. These two kind of duking it out for the spots out of the pit lane. This could be crucial as they will line up as the second car in line when everybody pits through. Well, actually, with Elliott Henderson actually in the lead, as he jumped the leaders by almost a second over him with that last pit stop. And Gavin Fitzgerald, who pit even earlier than them, is actually in the lead, but is currently being run down by Elliott.
Gavin Fitzgerald and Elliott Henderson, and this could possibly be a strategy that Fitzgerald might be doing. He might decide to pit or even earlier, like way earlier than these drivers, and maybe try to get as much use as he can out of 4 fresh tires. I think that might be the strategy for Gavin Fitzgerald. A lot of these drivers are going to probably pit with maybe around 10 laps to go. Gavin Fitzgerald might come down with 15 or 20 laps to go and take 4 fresh tires and really get a big advantage on the rest of the field.
Well, the part that I worry about is you want to try and minimize the pit stop time, and taking 4 tires just takes so long with how few laps they'll have left to the end. I think you're almost better off just taking the 2 and deciding to go along with it, because these trucks really start to build tight from what we've noticed, and it really makes them hard to turn. 2 tires would help with that.
We'll have to see what the winning strategy will be, but right now, Elliott Henderson is your race leader. Gavin Fitzgerald has fallen back to second, but Miller is about to take away that second position any moment now. They're around 2 seconds behind Henderson. Then you have RJ Williams in 4th, Zach Henry in 5th. There you see Miller. He's approaching the number 14 of Fitzgerald very quickly down the front straightaway going into turns 1 and 2. And Fitzgerald throws a little bit of a block, not going to let Miller make the pass so easy to the inside.
Yeah, looks like he gave a slight bump to the left rear quarter panel. If you're going to bump somebody at 1.5 miles, I'd say that's probably the best way to do it. Get right on the back side of the left rear quarter panel, and he's going to blow right by him. It seems like Gavin's really struggling on those slightly older tires, and it's just completely unable to maintain pace, as RJ Williams, who won the fight with Zachary Henry, is going to go by him as well for the 3rd position.
I think that's what I'm kind of saying when it comes to Gavin, at least. I think most of these drivers should take the 2 right side tires, but we're seeing how quickly Fitzgerald is falling off. Maybe he gets right into that pit window and is just good enough to make it to the end and takes 4 fresh tires. And at that point, he has fresher tires than anybody else, and he's going to make up a lot of time, and he's not going to have to pit again. So that might, I feel like that's the best strategy for Gavin Fitzgerald in particular, is the 4 fresh tires.
Well, that's what remains to be seen for Gavin. Is clearly right at the moment the pace seems to be struggling for him, and he might be able to capitalize on an off strategy that nobody else ends up trying. But the thing that I am noticing that's happening at the front of the field right now is that I expected Jake Miller to be closing in on Elliott Henderson, but he's not really doing so. Elliott is holding a pretty steady 2-second gap to that second place truck, and pretty much everybody else behind is in too much of a dogfight to really run him down either.
Henderson looking really smart at the moment on that strategy. I mentioned it earlier. Almost every time that we've seen this sort of pit strategy where drivers come in earlier and drivers stay out later, the driver that stays out later almost always wins. But Henderson pit early this time, and currently he's making it work. Around 2 seconds in front of his teammate Jake Miller. RJ Williams in the 3rd spot, going to check the speeds at the line. That last time by, Elliott Henderson with a 31.1, his teammate Jake Miller with a 30.9, and then Williams in the 3rd spot with a 30.7. So both Miller and Williams running slightly quicker lap times than Henderson, but do they have enough time to get up there?
Well, the big thing I noticed on the last run is that Elliott Henderson did have 1 lap older tires, gained a bit of track position, and while he did end up losing spots by the end of the pit cycle, he stayed with the leaders by the end of the run and didn't really fall off of them. So he has some really good long run pace, but he's just got to try and manage this track position till the next stop.
That time by, Miller and Williams caught up 3/10, and this time by, yeah, that last time it was a 1 lap difference, but this time's a 2 lap difference. I know it doesn't sound like much, but the way these tires work on iRacing, that's a huge difference. 2 laps, and we're kind of seeing it here. We're going to check the times again. Miller caught up another 10th, RJ Williams another 3/10. They continue to cut at this race lead for Elliott Henderson.
Yeah, but I think the big problem for Elliott, though, is that he was going through a lot of lap traffic and really slowed down the last couple laps. Now he's completely clear, so I think we're going to get a bit more representative of the time this time by, and what would definitely help is if RJ Williams kind of sticks his nose in there on Jake Miller and slows down both of them.
Miller cuts it down another 2/10 almost. Williams did make it 3 wide in 1 and 2 and still cut it down a little bit. So they're catching up to Henderson, but catching and passing are 2 completely different things. And Henderson's a really good race car driver, and I know he's super hungry for a win. It hasn't been the best season so far for Henderson, so I know he would love to get to victory lane. And if that means he has to block his teammate in RJ Williams, I think he might be willing to do it here late.
Well, I don't think there's really any doubt in my mind that Elliott Henderson going for the win is not going to pull a big block. That's just kind of the nature of this league, ladies and gentlemen. If we see a battle for the win late in the event, oh, expect some very aggressive driving, as we've already seen it several times so far this year.
Checking the times at the line that last time by, out of the top 5, the quickest was Jake Miller in the number 4, and the second quickest was Zach Henry, only a little slower than Miller that last time by. They're continuing to catch up to Henderson. Let's check the times this time. Henderson around 3/10 slower than Miller. Williams around 3/10 quicker than Henderson as well. Same thing with Henry and Cottle. All 4 of those drivers a couple of tenths quicker than Henderson. This could be an interesting finish to the race. Any 5 of these drivers could win this race at this point. Austin Moore as well.
Austin Moore on the same strategy right now as Elliott Henderson, so he's not going to have the same kind of pace as the competitors in front of him, but he does currently have a good bit of track position, and so far it seems to be working out for Elliott as they've gone over 10 laps on the same set of tires. And remember, they pit on lap 92, I believe. The drivers behind Elliott pit around lap 90, so for him, he's about 95 laps in, his competitors 93 laps in, and he's still maintaining this position, and I imagine he'll still maintain it for the next few laps, which could be crucial here at the end, because if he manages to do this again, I don't think they'll have enough time to catch him.
At this point, they're within the pit window, so if they pit right now, they would be good till the finish. We'll have to see if any drivers try to make a super early pit stop, or if these drivers just wait as long as they can and just get a gas and go, or just 2 right side tires. There's a lot of different strategies you can pull here late, and which one will be the winning one. Currently, the strategy for Henderson is working out. Currently the race leader in the 37, but Miller is catching up quick in the number 4 machine, along with RJ Williams, Zach Henry, Josh Cottle, and Austin Moore.
You know, pretty much the top 5 right now, I'd say, is in the best shot to really battle for the win. But as the laps have gone on, I've noticed the lap time gained from Jake Miller onto Elliott Henderson has slowly decreased to less and less lap to lap. It seems like Elliott's tires are really starting to turn around on him, and he's starting to find some better pace on 2 lap older tires. That typically costs him about 1 to 2 tenths a lap, but right now it's only costing him about a tenth a lap.
On the inside of Hayes here, and Hayes fighting hard on the high side. Henderson's not going to get any exit speed. Miller's really going to close the gap here. Miller's going to be almost right on Henderson's bumper going into 3 and 4, but now he has to try to get past Hayes. Hayes fighting hard on that high side.
Elliott did a good job there of making sure that he got a good exit. He does not want Jake Miller to get a better exit than he does. But we've got to watch out, because we've already seen Jake Miller knock his competitors out of the way to gain a position. And as much as Elliott Henderson is a teammate, it is for the lead position, and I don't know how much he's going to want to fight for it. But who knows? These guys may start to work together, as look who's joined the fray in that 3rd spot, RJ Williams. But Elliott Henderson is going to pit early and take the tires and take it to the end from this point.
This is what I was interested in. I was interested to see if any of these drivers would try to take 4 tires early and just drive it out the rest of the way and really use those 4 tires to their advantage. It's going to be very close for Henderson, but it could very well pay off for the 37 team as he's came into his pit box.
Well, Jake Miller is pitting as well from the lead. He's on the same strategy as his competitors. RJ Williams, Zach Henry, they're all going to follow him in. Josh Cottle. There is no gambles on strategy for these drivers. All right, I want to watch this. Let's see how many tires these drivers take, because I was expecting to see 2 tires with about 10 laps to go to the finish, but now with 20 laps to go, I don't know if 2 tires is even an option.
Yeah, I expect all of these drivers to be taking 4 tires, pitting at this point in the run. We'll have to see if that is confirmed, though. You see all these drivers have pulled into their pit box, changed the right side tires, and now they're changing the left side tires. They all changed 4, and it looks like Miller will probably get out first, and he will. He will beat out the number 12 of Henry, RJ Williams, and Cottle, and now we have to see.
Where does Elliott come out on track? But Austin Moore takes the lead away from these drivers. I think he may have tried to take 2 tires. I was not exactly watching a stop, but look where Elliott Henderson is. He's not going to be able to jump his competitors. Jake Miller and Austin Moore come out ahead, and I think Austin Moore definitely took 2 tires as he immediately lost the lead away from Jake Miller. But big bump 3 wide for the lead down the front straightaway. Elliott Henderson, no patience from him. He's going to try and take the lead away. Oh my goodness gracious, they're all one on top of the other. 5 drivers battling as now Nathan Jump has found his way into the middle of this battle.
Austin Moore is struggling with the handling in that 91 with the 2 right side tires. You saw it coming out of pit road, and that's how Miller and Austin Moore were neck and neck when the 37 of Henderson pulled up. Austin Moore is struggling with handling when it comes to that 91 at the moment, and almost contact. Miller and Shiflett. And Henderson is trying to drive away in the number 37 machine, looking to get that first victory of the season.
But we saw the pace that Jake Miller had on the last run. We've seen his pace all day, and I'm not expecting this to be an easy win by any means for Elliott Henderson, as he's going to have a very strong piece of competition behind him. But the kind of shock out of nowhere performance is from Nathan Jump, who had pretty much been hanging out around the back half, the top 10, all of a sudden finds himself in the 3rd spot with a kind of 2-tire barrier behind him, kind of blocking off his competitors. But here comes Zachary Henry around the outside, wanting to get by these guys who he knows he's faster than, around the outside of Nathan Jump, who just kind of gives him the spot could be crucial for Zachary Henry going for the win.
I think Nathan Jump might have done the 2-tire strategy along with Austin Moore. It's definitely given them their track position, but it seems like they're really struggling with handling on those two machines as Henry drives past both of them with ease, and now Henry sets his sights on the number 4 of Miller and the number 37 of Henderson. The question is, if Miller gets to Henderson, does Henderson maybe give him a little leeway, especially with the number 12 of Henry back there? Because if he holds up Miller too long, Henry's going to be right on the bumper of both of them.
Well, I'm not sure, because you don't want to battle with your teammate too much either, because if you start battling, that really opens up the door for Zachary Henry to get into this fight. So, I mean, Elliott might want to try and avoid letting Jake Miller get to the inside or outside, because then it's going to allow Zachary Henry and Miller to battle, and that's going to allow Elliott a good shot at the victory.
They're about to approach a couple of lap cars. You have around 4 lap cars right in front of the leaders. They're about to pass the first one of Hunter Brittle. Here comes coming to the inside. It's Henderson. He's going to clear Brittle off of the corner. Now he's about to approach another lap car in his way. It looks like the number 1 of Brett Kincod. He's going to clear him going into 1 and 2. But Jake Miller is going to be neck and neck with somebody.
Oh! Contact with the lap cars. They save it. Incredible stuff from those two to keep it going. Zachary Henry stuffed his way into the middle of there as well. I cannot believe they made it through that.
Those two made contact, and it really held up Henry. Henry had to slow down, and Williams took full advantage, and Williams is going to now move into the 3rd spot. And Henderson and Miller have a gap now. At this, I was saying before, does Henderson want to hold up Miller with Henry right there? But now that they have a gap, those two can really battle it out a little bit more.
Yeah, that was an absolutely game-changing maneuver there from the lap cars to separate the top 2 from the rest of the field, as now the fight is between teammates for the victory, both looking to get a victory on the season. I'm looking to see, Jake Miller does not have a win, neither does Elliott Henderson, so both of them looking to get their first win of the season.
They're battling hard back here for the 3rd spot as well. Henry seems to have a little more speed at the moment than Williams, but he just can't get back into that spot as they're on even tires at the moment. And the number 12 and the number 21 going back and forth for that 3rd spot. Henry has to slot in behind him for now.
This is going to be rough for the rest of the field to try and catch up to these two. I don't know if they could run that much faster to be able to catch up with how big the gap is. 1.3 seconds to Elliott Henderson, though it just closed up about 0.3 of a second that last laps. Hold on now, there may be something going on between these guys. They might still have a shot at it.
Yeah, I wouldn't quite give up on Williams, Cottle, and Henry, but they're beginning to battle a little bit more now back there for the 4th spot. I wouldn't quite give up on them, because the slowest driver at the end of this run is probably going to be Henderson. Not by much, but he'll be a little bit slower. And if Miller can't get past him quickly, if at all, it's really going to hold them both up. And Williams, Cottle, and Henry should be able to drive him back down, as now they're going to pass the lap car of Nathan Nixon, who's actually had a pretty decent day, Nathan Nixon. He's currently the 1st car lap down in the number 98 machine in 16th. That leaves 15 drivers on the lead lap here late.
I was almost thinking Jake Miller was going to take the move there, as Elliott really got checked up on the inside of the lap car, but he decided to push him instead. I think Jake Miller sees the challenge that's coming from behind and wants to at least try and get it to that only these two are battling for the win late in the race. He does not want RJ Williams to get into the middle of this.
RJ Williams is closing in on both of them. Henry and Cottle continue to battle it out for 4th, which is kind of slowing them both down at the moment. Williams seems to maybe have a shot at Miller and Henderson, but Miller not making his move on Henderson quite yet, but he's all over his bumper going into 1 and 2.
I could see he wants to make the move, but he's deciding not to. Again, seeing the challenge from behind and seeing them all lined up behind, they're no longer battling, and they've been gaining on the leaders every little lap, every little bit, and they're gonna be in this fight by the end with about 10 laps to go when they cross the line.
10 laps remaining here in the CHA 200 at Charlotte Motor Speedway for the Great Lakes Truck Series. Can Elliott Henderson turn his season around and put it into victory lane for the first time this season? Or can his teammate, last season's champion Jake the Snake Miller, steal it away? Or can RJ Williams, Josh Cottle, or Zachary Henry make a battle late from 3rd, 4th, and 5th?
Oh man, Kyle, watch out. RJ Williams has caught on to the draft. He's about a half of a second away and closing quickly. This is going to be at least a 3-way fight, but with Josh Cottle also running him down and Zachary Henry trying to tag along, we may see 5 cars in the fight for the win by the end of this.
Yeah, the front 2 were the slowest out of the top 5 that last time by. Henderson and Miller were both at least a 10th slower than the 3 behind them, and RJ Williams was 3/10 quicker than both of them. So the 3rd, 4th, and 5th are beginning to catch up to this front 2. Do they have enough time?
That was a bit of a poor lap there from RJ Williams. Lost a little bit of time to the leaders and actually allowed Josh Cottle to get to his bumper. You don't want these two to start battling, and I don't think they will, because right now it's looking like E95 versus the, I'm forgetting the name, Kyle. I'm forgetting the name. I'm losing my mind. But teammates behind him looking to run down the leaders.
The windshield deep boys from Spectrum of RJ Williams. And Kyle got into the wall, it looked like, there in the 32. Yes, he did. Right side damage on the 32 machine. Very, very hard hit to the outside wall. And Henry will get into the 4th spot.
Yeah, costly mistake there from Josh Cottle. They were making up a lot of time working together, kind of helping each other down the straightaways. But now it's pretty much all up to RJ Williams. And if maybe Zachary Henry can close in and try and start helping out. But the pace that RJ Williams had earlier closing in on the front 2 has gone away. The top 2 have been faster than these last 3, the last few laps.
6 laps remaining. The front 2 beginning to pick up a little bit of pace. That last time by, the quickest out of the top 5 was Zachary Henry. But Henderson and Miller only a couple hundredths off Henry's pace. So the front 2 beginning to pick it back up, and Henderson especially. Henderson beginning to gap the number 4 of Miller.
Also gonna watch out as well. All these cars that they're lapping right now are currently on the lead lap. They might want to fight this just a little bit to try and stay in the lead lap with so few laps to go. But as they're coming up so quickly on the lap car of Shane Neiswanger, this could present a bit of an opportunity here for Jake Miller to try and make a move, as Elliott Henderson is going to get a little bit choked up on corner entry.
Henderson goes to the inside, and Miller is now going to be on the inside, but he's not going to get as good of a run off as Neiswanger's on his outside. But Miller's right there at this point. He's within striking distance of the number 37 with 4 laps remaining. Miller peeking to the high side, seeing if he can make the move to his quarter panel.
Miller got a bit of clean air there around the outside. He's going to have a big run down the back straight. Is he going to take it to the inside? Yes, he will, for the lead. Jake Miller looking for that spot down into 3 and 4. Can Elliott Henderson hold it around the outside? Remember, Elliott's got 1 lap older tires than Jake Miller, and Miller's going to hold on down the front straight, but it's still an absolute tie going across the line.
A battle between E95 teammates. You have the 37 of Elliott Henderson. You have Jake Miller in the number 4. 3 laps remaining. Jake the Snake Miller versus Bobby Carter. Who gets the job done? RJ Williams and Zachary Henry not too far behind if these two make contact.
And I think that's the last thing Jake Miller wants, is to end up losing the race because of some contact. He's almost clear of Elliott heading down the front straightaway out of 4, but Elliott Henderson is just going to barely hold on to that right rear quarter panel. It's going to be rough down here in 1 and 2. That outside lane seemed to have been stronger all night, but Jake Miller's got the run on the bottom. He just cannot get clear. 2 laps to go, ladies and gentlemen. It's an absolute dogfight for the victory.
Miller almost cleared him in 1 and 2. If he's going to clear him, it's going to be down here in 3 and 4, and he does clear him. Henderson may be trying to prep a crossover out of the corner, but he's not going to get the runoff that he hoped. 2 laps remaining. Henderson now goes to the inside. Gets a great run coming past the start-finish line. They're going to be neck and neck once again. Going into 1 and 2, Henderson trying to stick it on the inside of his teammate.
Elliott didn't get it to that painted line on the bottom, but he's still going to have a good run through. Final lap, ladies and gentlemen. F the lap to go. Elliott Henderson in the preferred lane, but can Jake Miller hold on around the outside? Elliott Henderson gets the run through the center. He's going to push up. Slight contact, but they're going to hold on out of turn 4. Oh no! Oh no! Oh, Jake Miller! I think Miller got it! Jake Miller wins by 0.03 of a second over Elliott Henderson. Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness, that was a close race to the line. Henry and Williams were right there as well. That was super close. Pretty much almost a 4-wide finish coming across the line there with them wrecking across the line. Oh my gosh.
Kyle, that was an absolutely phenomenal finish there at the end. I saw Elliott creeping up the track at a turn 4, and once they made it through, I thought it was done and dusted. Jake Miller had it, but Elliott said, no, I want it, and tried to slow him down in any way possible, but it just was not enough there at the line. I almost thought RJ Williams was going to get it.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking Henry or RJ Williams was going to get at the line. I thought one of them might have for a second there. That was super close and very hard racing between these two, but very good sports as well, as they both celebrate the 1-2 finish after their heavy contact coming to the line. That was one of those classic Charlotte finishes that we kind of grew up watching here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. A lot of those great finishes. This track was known as Lowe's Motor Speedway, and that was one of those classic finishes there, Alex. A very close race to the line.
Very, very close is a bit of an understatement there, Kyle. That was an absolutely incredible run to the end between those two. They were right on top of each other. I was waiting to see when Jake Miller would make the move because I knew it was going to be an absolute dogfight from there on out. Kyle, we had 3 laps straight of side-by-side racing, and big crossover from Elliott Henderson to even put him in that position at the end. Big stuff from these E95 drivers to really dominate the end of this race.
We're gonna show the replay here of the last lap and a half right here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. A phenomenal finish between the E95 teammates of Jake Miller and Elliott Henderson. And here you see the battle going into 3 and 4, coming to the white flag. Miller is able to clear him, but you see how much Henderson backs off because he knows his last shot is right here in a crossover, getting a great run down the front straightaway. Gets a phenomenal run, then dives to the inside of Miller coming out of the tri-oval into turns 1 and 2, and he really sends it into the corner. They go neck and neck, a really good battle right here, and it's just super close off the corner. Miller gets a phenomenal run going into turns 3 and 4, and this is where it gets really interesting, especially with McClellan out in front of him, giving them a little bit of dirty air. Henderson slides up the track, gets into Miller, and the race to the line, here it comes, and Henderson knows he's not going to get it, gets a little bit into his quarter panel, and they wreck across the line, and Jake the Snake Miller is able to slither to another victory here today, Alex.
Slithered is a way to put it, I suppose, though I think the tires would try and say otherwise with how badly they must be screaming after that one, but I'm sure he's not the only one that was screaming, as that was quite the finish. I mean, we were flabbergasted, to say the least, up here in the booth at that one, and look how close the finish is between these two. I honestly, from this point, I would say Elliott got it, but no, by just the slimmest of margins, Jake Miller takes the victory here in Charlotte.
And a very close race for third, too. Only 0.03 of a second separate our podium from podium from not podium. RJ Williams gets third. Zachary Henry gets fourth by only 0.03 of a second. A super close finish for that third position as well. A phenomenal race all around and a great finish. Here we are going to see we're actually going to show you the race off the line, off turns 3 and 4 at least, for RJ Williams and Zach Henry. Here you see Henry, he's going to have a phenomenal run off the corner. Williams really struggles off the corner, and Henry has a great run, dives to the inside, but just wasn't quite enough. A photo finish, and Williams able to snag that last podium spot in the third position.
Yeah, a photo finish for both the first and third positions, and we just saw that replay, so why don't we go ahead and talk to the person who just narrowly missed out on getting that third spot? Zachary Henry, welcome. We got a little bit extra time today, so welcome to the booth for some interviews for the fourth position, and quite the finish, huh?
Yeah, it was pretty exciting. It was actually a really good race with all of us up there in the top five. But I wish I would have got that podium spot. But it's good to finally get interviewed this season. It's been too long.
Yeah, we've seen you up front contesting for wins here and there pretty much almost every week you get the opportunity to, especially, of course, at the ovals. And right there, you almost nabbed that third position away from RJ Williams. And I mean, you two watched the leaders wreck at the line. Did you think you had a shot at it right there at the end?
Nah, they were just a little too far out in front of us. But that's actually the part of the reason why I kind of doored RJ there on accident. I was paying attention to what they were doing and wasn't really paying attention to where RJ was. But yeah, they were just a little too far out in front. Now, if they would have got into each other a little bit earlier, like maybe coming out of four, and checked each other up just a little bit more than what they did, then the confidence may have been there to get to them. But that was a really fun race, just all the way around with the 5-6 of us that were running up front all day.
Now, I gotta ask you, around you, all around the top five, pretty much all day, after your teammates at 25-11, Christopher Heller fell out and Brandon Barkuski had some issues, you were flying the flag for that team, but you had teammates all around you with Jake Miller and Elliott Henderson together and RJ Williams, Josh Cottle together. What was it like kind of being the lone guy in the middle of that?
Actually, I forgot RJ and Cottle were teammates, but you always expect Jake and Elliott to work together. I mean, they do every single time they're around each other, especially when they're up front. I mean, my goal was just to get out front and try to hold them off until the pit stop and maintain the lead coming out of the pits. And unfortunately, that never actually happened. Jake would always get me, a lap or two before we would have to pit. And unfortunately, there was also netcode a couple times there. That one time, I think before the second to last pit stop, we netcoded pretty good going into 3, and I lost a few spots because of that. But yeah, I mean, you always want to lead every lap, right? And I was kind of trying to just save my stuff, take the lead, and try to hold everybody off as long as I could.
Yeah, well, you did a great job of that, ran in the top 5 all day, narrowly got the third position there at the end, but still in the booth to talk to us anyway, because you all had a great, clean race. Who do you have to thank for your finish today? Because that was the intense one.
The 25-11 guys, it's always fun racing with them. And fortunately, Brandon, Chris, and Jordan didn't necessarily have the race that they were expecting to have, and for various reasons. But it's always fun, practicing with those guys once or twice a week coming into the race. And then we always have a good time during the race as well. My wife, she always does an awesome job watching the baby while I'm at work, and then working a little bit of overtime while I get to do these things. And then you guys for putting on the broadcast. I bet this one was probably a pretty entertaining one to watch at the front of the field, and I look forward to seeing how all that went. And then the last one is Mama Heller. I'm going to go enjoy some Oreos and milk out of my 25-11 mug that she mailed me this past week.
All right, well, you go ahead and enjoy that. Zachary Henry had a great run today and put on a lot of entertainment for us the whole night. So thank you for that, and thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. And then, of course, we got to talk to the person he battled with for that third position. Narrowly beat out Zachary Henry to the line. RJ Williams in the fight for the win pretty much all day. Wasn't able to get it there right at the end, but had a phenomenal finish for third. RJ Williams, tell us about how your day went as a whole.
Well, solid run for the Spectrum Racing Mother Truckers Toyota Tundra. That was the whole plan. I mean, every week I've been having solid runs up until a certain point, and then it all goes to hell. So I was trying to mitigate that as much as possible tonight, and it pretty much worked out. That was a fun battle to watch between Elliott and Jake there. I didn't have anything for them. I was hoping they would keep on battling like that, so when they messed up, I would be able to put my nose in there, but that didn't happen. And then Zach got a hell of a run off of 4 there on the last lap, so I had to fend him off. But all in all, great race, great truck. Congrats to Jake on the win, Elliott on second. Us top five, we were pretty much put us under a blanket. Top five, top six there. So a lot of fun racing with Josh Cottle there as always, my protege. But yeah, good run overall.
Good run indeed for you, RJ Williams. And I'm a little bit curious. I'm gonna ask you first upon this. Might talk to the others later, but when it came down to the green flag pit stops with all you guys, we know that Elliott Henderson was pitting a bit early. What do you think your advantage might have been over him pitting a little bit later, despite him getting the track position?
He pulled off a good call. He was making those early pit stops most of the night, and decided to go there. And I guess Jake and the rest of us felt the pressure from him rolling down pit road to kind of, okay, well, if he's got freshies, then we need to jump on freshies so we don't lose touch with them. I kind of felt the pressure there behind the wheel, and me, Jinx, and all them came down pit road and got us 4 freshies and ran to the end. I couldn't keep my tires under my truck like the others could most of the night. I seemed like I could drive up there, and then I kind of fall back, and then I don't know. I just don't think I was driving 100% right. But I don't know. That was a lot of fun.
Definitely fun indeed. Incredible to watch you guys go around. But before we let you go, we want to ask you who else do you have to thank tonight, or have you gotten everything in already?
Well, everyone over at Spectrum Racing, Eric, Ashton, Gavin, Anderson, James, Barb, our affiliates, Eric. Can't forget Eric. I love Eric. Eric's my best friend. So yeah, all them boys, Jinx, Josh Cottle, Sean / Jacob Hayes, Spencer Dickinson. Big old shout out to Spencer Dickinson. Spike, get you some bitches, please. Yeah. So those are my shout outs.
All right. Well, thank you, RJ Williams, for that, and thank you for the race that you put on for us tonight. It was a good one to watch, and I'm sure it'll be a great one for y'all to watch the replay of sometime this week.
Oh, definitely watching it later.
All right. Thank you for coming in to talk to us.
Yep.
All right, and of course, the driver who tried everything he could there at the end to try and get the victory away from his teammate, Elliott Henderson. You pulled the strategy all night. You got the track position. You had the position up to the last 3 laps, but we're not there earlier on in the race. I mean, tell us about how those strategies were working out for you, and of course, tell us about that incredible finish.
Well, yeah, I was just talking to Zach and Jake about the fact that I felt like I was the only one in that group that was dealing with the aggression and everything that was going on back towards 10th to 15th, because I kept falling back on those starts because I knew the truck was going to get tight late in the run. I didn't want to just run through my tires and I'd be able to pick a couple of those guys back off. And I kept working to where I'd get back to about 6th or 7th, but we kept having those early cautions and it didn't really help me a ton. But at that point, yeah, I mean, it started around green, and I did this at Motegi the same way, and it kind of helped me. And I felt like if I could undercut just enough, there was usually spots where there were lap cars and stuff that were making it chaotic for the leaders to get past. And if I could manage all that the right way and get the right cuts and brakes, I could gain a lot of ground. And then I knew those guys were all going to pit as a pack, and that's usually not beneficial to them because they're all going to brake check each other, or maybe one guy enters too soft and it messes with the other guys. So, as soon as I made a really late decision with the second to last pit stop, and to the point that Austin Moore was doing the same strategy as me and didn't even pit with me because I made it so late. I was in the middle of 3 and 4 and just decided on doing it. And I think that's what propelled me up, because I entered so hard, I was able to make up all the time that I had been losing. And those guys were just kind of on top of each other, and they stayed out for a good 3 or 4 laps. And I knew that at that point, if I came out 2-3 seconds ahead like I did, that all I needed to do was ultimately hold off Jake and anybody else like RJ who was charging there. And from that point on that last stop, I was like, well, I'm going to short pit it. And at that point, these guys will either come in with me, which is perfect because then I can just hold them off, or they'll come a lap or 2 later. And ideally, I'll still be able to make up that time on the first lap to then be able to hold them off again. And I mean, we caught a bunch of breaks there on the whole last run. It was crazy with the fact that me, Austin, and Jake all came out basically 3 wide and 3 and 4. I got right up on Jake to get him nice and loose and out of the way, and drive by. But we caught a bunch of breaks with lap traffic to kind of slow up Henry and RJ. Like, those guys were definitely fast, and Jake was, a great teammate tonight. Didn't pass me immediately, could have, and just kind of worked with me to keep us both up there. And by the end of it, I knew that he had the better tires because he pit a lap after me, and he probably had the better truck at the end of the day because he was leading the whole thing for most of that race. But I knew that having the clean air was also key, and that's what kind of allowed me to make a run on the last lap. But at the end of the day, I probably should have charged 3 a little bit harder, knowing that it was the white flag. And if I could have stayed even to door him there, that little bit of netcode probably would have benefited me a lot more than it did. So it is what it is. Hard racing, great racing. Love being able to race Jake because it always turns into these fun battles. Felt a lot like the old seasons, and it was good to finally turn it around. But yeah, I hope we put on a show for you guys because it was a ton of fun in the trucks.
Incredibly fun indeed, Elliott. It provided us a rundown of the entire race, so we appreciate that. And I guess before we let you go, we would like to ask you who you'd like to thank for the second place finish today and the almost victory there.
Yeah, you got to know I do long interviews, man. It's been a while since I've been up here. I had to get some extra work out of it. As always, special thanks to the E95 boys. Hunter Madalina's leading the points. He had his first off night because I bad lucked him at the beginning saying he'd get a top 5 because he messed up his qualifying run again. But all those guys, Hunter Madalina's, Jake Miller, I haven't done this in forever, man. I don't even know my teammates. But Hunter, Jake, Austin, those guys, and then Bransky, who hasn't been running the season. I don't know that he'll come back. And then we've got Sensi on the other team, and Breyer, who unfortunately is not going to come back either. And then Michael Levine, who kind of heads the operations and just kind of make sure that we're not doing dumb stuff. But special thanks to all those guys that put in the effort and make sure that we come out here and run well. And hopefully we can all make the playoffs this season. We're still vibing for that. Pretty much right on the cut line there. So we got a few races to iron that out, and we'll see where it goes in these next few weeks.
All right. Well, thank you, Elliott Henderson, as always, the insightful man that you are. We appreciate talking to you. Thank you for coming into the booth, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Have fun talking to that lunatic that just won that race.
Well, now I'm worried.
He'll be a good kid.
Anyways, thank you, Elliott. Once again, we'll see
Have
you
a good night,
next
guys.
week. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I guess now we need to prepare ourselves for Jake Miller, the winner of tonight's race, in a slide across the line victory there versus his teammate in an epic duel there with 3 laps to go. Jake Miller, how you feeling?
Feeling pretty good, and that was probably the best finish that I've ever had in a truck.
It was definitely one of the best finishes and overall best races I think I've seen here up in the booth since we started, and quite the run for you tonight, pretty much out front of the field the entire time until your teammate there pulled a bit of a strategy call. And I mean, what was on your mind throughout that, seeing him at 1.2 seconds ahead?
So I obviously pitted after him, and he short pitted us because he knew he was going to split the last one in half. And every outlap after the pit stop, I ended up getting loose in turn 3, and that's why I had 2 seconds. But once that happened, I was kind of freaking out, but I knew I had a 2 or 3 lap tire advantage, so he'd come back to me eventually. But I didn't know if I'd catch him by lap 110 because that's where he was going to split it. But I ended up doing that, and I pitted a lap after him, and I somehow ended up 3 wide with Austin, our other teammate, him, and me. So that was it was kind of crazy because the whole top 5 was under a blanket for 120 laps.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that I gotta ask you here, because obviously you were the center head of that finish there on the last lap, being sideways across the line. What was the panic like going on when that happened, that you ended up getting turned there? What was the thoughts of possibly losing that race right there and then?
No, I wouldn't have been mad if I would have lost because, if he would have finished first, it would have been a little bitter, but, it's my teammate, and we haven't had a battle like that since like season 2, and the nostalgia was pretty good for the both of us. And I think I expected him not to drive or side draft so hard, and as soon as I was wrecked, I'm like, oh, I can't do anything. And then we're sitting there, who got it, who got it, and I'm like, oh, thank God that I got it.
I mean, we were asking the same question up here, and we had the scoreboards right in front of us, so that could probably tell you just how intense that finish was. But man, you guys put on quite the show for us tonight. We appreciate you making that go on for us, but obviously you don't have a great finish like that without some good partners and friends. So who do you have to thank for the win tonight?
Obviously, my teammates, especially Elliott, because I think he was around me all race, and then Austin Moore, because he's always a help too, and he always runs top 10, and then, of course, always Uncle Ron, because I think that was also the best finish that he's ever watched me win. So.
All right, well, congratulations, Jake Miller, on the incredible victory here tonight. Thank you for coming in to talk to us. Can't wait to see you next week and see if you could really make some stuff happen in Montreal.
Yeah, I don't think that'll happen, but I'll see you guys next week.
All right, well, thank you, Jake Miller, for coming in to talk to us. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, that was our top 4 for tonight, and as I mentioned there at the end of that interview, Kyle, it's Montreal week next week. We're taking it from the 1.5 miles to one of Canada's premier road courses. I mean, what do you expect from that next week?
Montreal, aka Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, a very difficult racetrack north of the border. One of the most difficult road courses, but also a really fun road course if you can get into a rhythm. So I expect to see some good racing there next week, Alex, and I'm pretty sure you're going to be competing.
Yeah, I'm planning on running the race next week alongside those guys. Should be fun. I love me some road courses in NASCAR, so I might be trying to see if I can get myself a victory, but these guys are tough out here.
As we go through our last thoughts, maybe put the final results on the screen here for you. Go through our last thoughts of the day. Go through some of these results as well. Jake Miller, of course, able to snag the victory. Elliott Henderson, RJ Williams, Zach Henry, and Josh Cottle, your top 5. Austin Moore, Nathan Jumper, pretty much there all race long. Michael Sensi in 8th. What a great finish. We didn't really mention him, but Michael Barbagelata able to put together a really solid finish in the 9th position, and Gavin Fitzgerald running in the 10th spot as we move on to the next slide, 11th through 20th. Brandon Burkuski able to come back for that 11th place finish. You have Tyler McClellan and Matthew Rodriguez back here. You have Nathan Nixon, who put on a good run today in 17th, and James Shiflett, after his incident early, was able to come back and finish 20th as we move on to the next slide, 21st through 30th. In the 21st spot, of course, you have Christopher Heller, who started the race in 2nd, but exited the race early, was able to return and get at least one of those laps back, but he didn't get another caution to get that 2nd lap back. Comes home 21st. You have points leader Hunter Madalinas coming home 25th. You have Ashton Lawson coming home in the 28th spot, and then Rod Fosnow rounding out your top 30. And then we're on to the final slide, our final finishers of the day. 31st on back, you have Steven Sims, who had a lot of speed early, coming home 31st. Daniel Nanny, who looked to be the fastest truck out there tonight in the number 30 machine, but hit the wall early. And then, of course, you have Matt Daniels, Jordan Gonzalez, Cameron Perez, some pretty good drivers here at the back of the pack who got involved in that big incident early and just had too much damage here today, Alex, to continue. A very insane race here today, Alex. Probably the best one we've had all season.
I'd say even more so than the best one we've had all season. I'd say that's probably the best one since I've been up here in the booth covering the Great Lakes Truck Series. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want the top tier of the Great Lakes Truck Series, it was here tonight. You got a little bit of everything. You got big wrecks, long runs, big strategy, fantastic battles, and on top it all off, a fantastic finish. I mean, this will be a race that to be remembered for quite a long time to come.
We're about to check out of here. What would like to say once again, congratulations to Jake Miller on snagging another victory here in the Great Lakes Truck Series. A phenomenal finish between himself and his teammate Elliott Henderson. They were spinning across the line But we will see you next week, same place, same time here on the Flatout Racing Network from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Montreal, north of the border. Should be a fun one as they make right turns and left turns. That should be a lot of fun next week. Once again, thank you all for tuning in to the Flatout Racing Network, and have a great night.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and